Hey everybody, it's Dr. Dave Psychiatry. Thanks for coming to the YouTube channel today, reminding you that if medication fixes your problem, that makes it a medical problem, not a mental problem. It's been a busy week, stuff is happening, so I found myself in the studio a couple of times. Today I'm talking about the executive order that was signed by the President of the United States for apparently encouraging speedy research on psychedelic medications. If you've watched this channel, you understand that this is not a political channel. I don't comment on political stuff. No matter what administration is, roughly half the people love what's going on and the other half hate what's going on. And that's sort of the state of the world right now in the United States in April of 2026. But I saw this on YouTube short, and it really caused me to have to say something because I think it's misleading, and I think there's a problem with talking about it in a way that it got talked about. So basically, the question I've gotten the last several days with several patients is, hey doc, what do you think about psychedelics in terms of treatment for depression? Now, I'm not an expert in these medicines. I don't do research in medications. So it may be that we are at the forefront of something special. But right now, all has happened is that some medicines are being targeted as potentially very, very useful. But the research hasn't been done yet. And in fact, these are medicines that, in my opinion, the biggest problem is that they may be difficult to use safely. The long-term use of medications like ketamine, and back when they were using LSD, which is a psychedelic, there's long-term complications and implications from using those medicines. And basically what I'm saying is that I don't want to give anything to someone who might potentially damage their brain. Now, if the research gets done and it turns out that these medications are very useful in a specific population, then that's great. And that's what medical research does in the United States. And I'm not going to say that ibogaine or any other medicine is not someday going to be helpful. But what I heard on the internet, people, the president reading an executive order, he said a couple things very casually that 80 to 90% of people that took this particular medication felt better in a month. Well, that may or may not be true, and that may be a pilot study, and that may be related to something else. So I don't have access to the data, but really what's being implied and portrayed here is that this is going to revolutionize healthcare, that it's going to give veterans a chance to get over their PTSD, that it's going to be something that is a game changer in mental health. Well, truthfully, we have a lot of tools right now, and I'm not trying to say that I'm against future development of tools, but the tools that we have right now are very, very good. And the biggest problem that I see with patients not getting help is not that there's no hallucinogenic psychedelic medication that's going to fix them. That's not the issue. The issue is getting patients to say, yes, I've got a problem. You know, if you've got somebody with anxiety and depression, you have to get them to come into the office and say, hey, I need help. Now, why do I feel so confident that that's the issue? Well, because for 30 years, I've taken veterans, patients with post-traumatic stress disorder from various types, and treated them with the medicines that I've already talked about on the channel, with the serotonin boosters, with the norepinephrine boosters, with the dopamine suppressors, and I haven't had to resort to ketamine or LSD or any other medication that is really either a very, very strong anesthetic or a hallucinogenic medication. The reason being is I wouldn't want to take it, and I wouldn't want to give it to my family. Now, again, they may find out that these medicines are useful, and they may be doing research that proves that someday we're going to have those tools. But the problem that I have is we need to pump the brakes on this idea. The idea that executive order is going to get signed, and suddenly we're going to have a bunch of people taking ibogaine, that's not going to happen right away, and I think really it's misleading to portray that that's going to be a game changer. If anybody, the president or anybody, wants to change the landscape of people needing to recover from their depression and their anxiety conditions, if they are caused medically, that is to say, if they need medical treatments like ibogaine, like a psychedelic medication would be a medical treatment. The biggest problem is not the specific medical treatment. The biggest problem is fostering an environment where people feel comfortable asking for help and saying, look, doc, I think I got a medical deal. Let's deal with it. That's whether you have depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, OCD, ADHD, all the stuff I talk about on the channel. The second thing that the president said, which You either love him or you don't like him. But what he said that maybe I should need some, it was a joke. Okay, that was a joke. He jokes around a lot. But then he said, if you're busy, I don't have time to be depressed. So I can't be depressed. I don't have time to be depressed. That is a medical fallacy. That's like saying, if I'm busy, I don't get cancer. That's like saying, if I'm busy, I don't get diabetes. No, that's not true. Good for him that he's busy. But the fact is, people get brain chemistry problems from their genetics. And depression is a brain chemistry problem that is passed on in families. And there's a medical treatment for it. And it doesn't matter how busy or important your work is. You can be the most busy, important person and still develop a brain chemistry problem. If your chemistry goes from here to here, that's that, and you can't fight it. Now, personally, I'm happy for anybody who believes that they don't have depression because they're busy. That's fine. You can hold that belief. And I'm happy for you that you have never suffered from depression. If the president or his cabinet or anybody else is doing their busy work and they're helping people and they don't have depression, that's awesome. But that doesn't mean that it can't occur. And unfortunately, when you take that position, that, hey, listen, I'm so busy that I can't have depression. Well, that's why there's suicide in the military and in civilian sector, where people don't want to admit that working harder is not working. And sometimes people make that choice of, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna end this because there is no hope for me. And that's a tragedy, because it's really based on the belief that somehow if you work harder, you'll never get depressed. And if you work so hard and you get no results, well, eventually you lose hope, and that can lead to the bad outcome. In contrast, what I want people to understand is that if you get a brain chemistry problem, I don't care if you're a millionaire and you don't need to raise your finger to make any money, or if you got 20 McDonald's franchises, or you just invented some product that the rest of the world is going to have to buy, and you're instantly a billionaire, or you're an AI tech guy or something and start a company and you're worth $1 billion suddenly. None of that matters. Your wealth doesn't matter. Your work habits don't matter. If your chemistry goes from normal to abnormal, you're going to feel it. And that's no different than diabetes, blood pressure, cancer. So honestly, I'm not sure how many bazillionaires out there in the AI or the tech world are going to watch this video. I don't really care. I just want to take the moment to personally push back on the idea that if you are busy enough, you won't get depressed. I'm happy the president isn't depressed, happy for him, but that has nothing to do with whether or not people get depression. And I just need to say that out loud so I feel better about it. So that's all I have to say today. The news is active right now. There's a lot going on. Whether or not the ibogaine thing lends itself to treatment down the road, that's yet to be seen. Is it going to revolutionize treatment? Yet to be seen. Is it appropriate that medications be reviewed by the FDA for their safety? Absolutely. And how much information am I going to need to have before I feel comfortable prescribing medicines like that to this very small group of people? Actually, it's not a large group of people that we're talking about that have combat-related PTSD. It's not that it's unimportant. It's just a small group, and I think we have to be cautious in our evaluation of how we handle that. So those are my thoughts about the news this week. I'm not normally a news responder. I don't track current events, but I just felt like this required a response. At least I feel better having made the video. So I'm Dr. Dave, Psychiatry. Thanks for coming to see me today.